Hit it, Phil.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La-da-da-da.
Stay tuned.
Right after this episode.
For our discussion.
The Jack Benny Program.
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. Now, if I seem to be particularly happy today, there's a reason for it. You know, I got up bright and early this morning, and I went out to Hillcrest Country Club to play golf. And I played 18 holes, and I shot a 78. Now, this is unusual for me to play so well, you see, but I owe this all to the new pro we have at Hillcrest, because he made just one little suggestion and took 20 strokes right off my game. He told me to cheat. So now I carry 11 clubs and an eraser. I can hardly wait until tomorrow. I'm going to come in with a 76. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there's something that I'm going to do right now that I very seldom do. But there's a couple sitting in the audience that I'd like to have you meet. My sponsor and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Lewis. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Lewis live in New York City, but the reason that he's out here right now is because it's almost option time, and he wants to be sure that I don't get away from him. You know, as long as I have been in show business, I've always made it a point to try to do something different or have something new on my show, you see. And the other day I was listening to a radio program, and I heard a violin player. Well, I don't recall the station, some small station, but this violinist was so wonderful that I immediately told my producer to get in touch with this violinist and have him here on my program, you see. And I understand he's here right now, and I'd like to have you meet him. His name is Mr. Orville Gifford. Mr. Gifford, I'm Jack Benny.
Hi, Rube.
Now, before you play a number, I'm sure that our viewers would like to know something about you.
Well, I'm not only a musician on radio in the evening, but during the day I operate my own farm.
Oh, you have a farm. Are you married?
Yep, married and got 16 kids.
16 children.
Yep.
What are their names?
Well, there's A, Alvin, B, Bertram, C, Catherine, Donald, Ella, Francis, Zebra.
Wait a minute, hold it, just a minute. You named one of your children Zebra?
Yep. I was hoping if I skipped right to the Z's, that would be the end of it.
And it wasn't, huh?
No. George, Henry, Iris.
I see. Now, the reason I asked you to come on this show was to play your violin. I understand you do novelty numbers. Is that right?
Well, I wrote a musical melodrama that wowed them at the county fair.
A musical melodrama?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Well, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure we all would.
Well, at the rise of the curtain, we see a living room. In the center of the living room, there's a dog fast asleep, but a burglar enters the house through a rusty door. We hear the door open. He's in. It's dark in this room. He don't see the dog, and he steps on the dog's tail.
Wait a minute. Is that the dog yelping?
No, the burglar. The dog bit him. There's a knock on the door. The owner arrives. He sees this burglar take the money, and the struggle is on. He's up. He's down. The owner shoots.
Oh, and he got the burglar.
No, the shot woke up the dog.
Now I'm all mixed up. I imagine that's the finish.
That's right. Tomorrow night, East Lynn.
Mr. Gifford, come out here and take a bow. Mr. Gifford, I want to thank you very, very much for appearing on my show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benny, for the opportunity. Before I go, I'd like you to meet my wife.
Well, that's very nice, but some other time.
She's waiting right there in the wings.
I know, but I'm pretty busy right now.
Just a minute. Oh, Bessie! Bessie, come out here.
This is your wife?
Yep. Ain't as big a hick as you thought I was.
No, you're not.
Come on, Bessie, let's go. So long, Rube.
Well, after 16 children, he sure looks good. You know, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, my enthusiasm for finding new talent doesn't always work out so well. But fortunately, I have a sponsor who goes along with my experiments. Isn't that right, Mr. Lewis? Oh, my goodness, he's gone.
Snap out of it.
I can't help it. Imagine my sponsor walking out right in the middle of my show.
Well, it's your own fault. You knew your sponsor was going to be in the audience. You had to give him Orville Gifford instead of spending money for a good act.
Yeah. And of all times for it to happen. I mean, just tomorrow morning, I got to walk into Mr. Lewis's office and talk about a deal for next year.
Well, look, Jack, if you're really worried about the business meeting with your sponsor tomorrow, why don't you call Mr. Lewis and tell him you'd like to have dinner with him tonight?
Hey, that's a good idea. No, that's ridiculous. I mean, if he was mad enough to walk out in the middle of the show, how can I expect him to buy my dinner?
No, Jack, you buy his.
Oh, all right. All right. Now, where would be a good place to take him, Mary? I mean, how about the Coconut Grove?
Oh, that'd be wonderful. They have a great floor show, and I hear Milton Berle is terrific.
Milton Berle is playing there?
Yeah, and they say he's never been funnier.
Must be someplace else I can take my sponsor. Who's playing at the Beverly Hilton?
Let me see. Red Skelton.
Skelton is playing there?
Yeah, and he's a riot.
Mary, why do you have to keep bringing up places like the Coconut Grove and the Beverly Skelton?
Well, you brought them up.
I don't care who brought them up. There must be someplace else we can take my sponsor.
Well, Jack, if you're afraid to take your sponsor to any place where there's a comedian playing, how about the Macombo? Tony Martin's working there.
No, that's out.
Oh, but Jack, Tony Martin's only a singer.
I know, but sometimes he ad-libs a funny introduction, and I'm in no position to take chances. Hey, I know what. Let's take him to the Ascot Room.
The Ascot Room?
Yeah. It's a great place. There are no comedians there. The feature act is Marcel and his puppets.
A puppet show?
Sure. And look, as long as my sponsor and his wife want to relax, there's no reason why I shouldn't relax, too. Mary, look, you go and change your clothes, and I'll call my sponsor and tell him I'm going to pick him up in a cab right away.
Okay. Oh, Jack, you better let me take my car.
Why?
Well, with your luck, you may get a funny cab driver.
Oh, it's good thinking. Good thinking. I'll tell you.
Well, Jack, I hate to do this, but I think Mrs. Lewis and I'd better be running along. You know, I was up very early this morning. I've got a big day tomorrow. In fact, I've got 2 appointments ahead of yours.
Oh, well, wait a minute, Mr. Lewis. Why don't you stay and see the rest of the show? There's a puppet act down here that's sensational. They're the talk of the town. I love them. Sit down, please.
Well, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been fortunate during the past few weeks to have as our featured attraction that world-famous puppet act, Marcel and his singing puppets.
You'll love it.
But unfortunately, Marcel caught the flu today and will be unable to appear.
Oh, that's a shame.
Fortunately, at the last minute, a very dear friend of mine, a man whom you all know and love, consented to come on and fill in for him. And here he is, one of America's foremost entertainers, the one and only Danny Thomas.
Thank you very much. Oh, please. Oh, Mr. Lewis, I guess you were right. Come on, let's go.
No, sit down, Jack. Sit down. I want to watch this. I've never seen Danny Thomas in a nightclub before.
I know, but look, you got up so early. You have to get up so early tomorrow morning. And look at the big day you've got. You've got a couple of appointments.
Well, I can cancel yours.
What?
Sit down.
Thank you very much. A lovely reception. I'm very happy to be here. I'm sorry it has to be under these circumstances. But, you know, it seems lately I've been substituting for a lot of actors who've been getting sick. I guess I'm the only entertainer in the world who's registered with the Actors Guild and the Mayo Clinic.
It certainly is. Well, I think...
Oh, I gotta tell you a story. I must tell you people a story because you're a very receptive audience and it's a cute story. It's a fella goes to a psychiatrist, see, looking pretty peaked, and the psychiatrist says, now, just lie down on the couch, my man. We'll get to your problem in a moment. First, tell me about yourself, about your family life. I says, well, Doc, I'm very happily married. I have a very beautiful wife. I have a son attending Harvard. Our daughter goes to Vassar. We have a 40-room house. We have 3 automobiles, a swimming pool. We have a yacht at Balboa. We have our own airplane, too. And the doctor said, well, my goodness, that sounds like very luxurious living. What's your problem? And he said, well, Doc, my problem is I only make $65 a week. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to sing a little song for you, if I may.
He sings, too. He not only sings, he's a star of stage, screen, television, nightclub.
Mary, you're talking yourself right back into the May Company.
When the red, red robin comes bobbing along, there'll be no more sobbing when he starts a-throbbing his old sweet song. Hey, wake up, you sleepyhead. Get up, get out of bed. Cheer up, the sun is red. Live, love, laugh, and be happy. What if I've been blue? I'm walking through fields of flowers. Rain may glisten, but still I listen for hours and hours. I am just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red, red robin comes bobbing along. What if I've been blue? Now I'm walking through fields of flowers. Rain may glisten, but still I listen for hours and hours just a kid again, doing what I did again, just singing my song. When the red, red robin, oh, the red, red robin, when the red, red robin comes a-bobbing along.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know, my appearance here tonight was quite unexpected, and I honestly don't know what else to do for you.
Hey, Danny, tell us the story about the man on the bus.
Oh, do you want to hear that one? All right. Thank you. Well, there was this fella, see? He was on a bus traveling from New York to Los Angeles by bus.
Hey, Daddy, how about the Toledo story?
Those yokels hollering for numbers over there.
Tell the bus story again, Danny. What'd you say, Jay?
Nothing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I came out here expecting to do only about 15 minutes. I've been on over an hour. Thank you very, very much for a delightful evening. Goodbye.
Give me your handkerchief. I've been laughing so much I'm crying.
Jack has a few tears in his eyes, too.
Imagine a man coming on at the last minute and holding an audience in the palm of his hand for over an hour.
I still think it's a shame that you missed the puppet act.
Jack, look, here comes Danny.
Hi, Mary.
Hello, Danny.
Yeah, hi, Jack.
Hello, Danny.
Say, I got a note to come to your table.
A note?
Yeah, who's Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Lewis is Jack's sponsor.
Always happy to meet a sponsor. How are you, Mr.
Hello,
Lewis?
Danny. Fine, thank you.
And this is Mrs. Lewis.
Well, how do you do,
How
Mrs.
do you
Lewis?
do?
Certainly hope you folks enjoyed the show.
Oh, we thought it was wonderful.
Well, thank you very much. Do you mind if I sit down?
No, Danny, I'm sorry, but we really have to go now. We've been here so long. Come on, Mr. Lewis.
Well, Jack, if you're feeling tired, why don't you run along?
Thanks. I'll just do a moment.
Well, all right, I'll stay.
Well, if you want to stay, I really got to go.
Why?
I have to get up early in the morning, look for a job. You've saved your money.
It's certainly a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, my dear. Why don't you just call me Danny?
Well, you know, Danny, you have a television show every week. You make motion pictures. You appear in nightclubs. Where do you find the time and the energy?
Well, I'm pretty well organized, and being young helps a lot, too. As a matter of fact, I've had so much extra time and energy on my hands lately that my agent is looking for another television show for me. Jack, let me slap you on the back.
Don't, Danny. You've heard him enough.
Danny, you do tell the funniest stories. I don't think there's anyone who tells a joke as well as you do.
You know, buddy, I heard a very funny story the other day about a fellow who passed a restaurant, you see, and there was a big sign in the window that said, "We'll give $1,000 if someone orders something that we haven't got." See? So this fellow walked inside, sat down at the table, and he said to the waiter, he said, "I'd like an elephant's ear on a bun." See? So the waiter went out to the kitchen about a half hour. He came back and he said, "Here's your $1,000. Well, I mean, evidently you've heard the story. Huh?
No, I didn't hear it. I just didn't get it.
Oh.
Did I?
Funny, when I heard it, I fell over.
Where'd you hear it?
At the Shapery, I told it. It was like Jack said, you know, the way it started. This fellow came into this restaurant where they had this big sign. You get $1,000 if you order something we haven't got. So this fellow walks in the restaurant, sits down, calls the waiter over, and he says, "Say, Bud, I'll have an elephant's ear on a bun. And the waiter says, yes, sir. Will that be African elephant or Indian elephant?
It's funnier already.
So the fella says, Indian elephant. And I want it on a bun. So the waiter goes out. He's gone about a half hour. He comes back. He says to the man, here you are, sir. Here's your $1,000. And the wise guy says, uh-huh. Out of elephant ears, eh? And the waiter says, no, sir. Out of buns.
I mean, he changed a few words, but, basically it's the same story.
Well, folks, I hate to rush off this way, but I've got a second show to do. So I'm very, very happy to.
Goodbye, Danny. Enjoy it.
Goodbye, Mrs. Lewis. Goodbye, Mary dear. So long.
Goodbye,
Jack.
Danny.
So long.
Well, Mr. Lewis, let's go, huh? No, Jack, I want to stay and see the second show.
But, Mr. Lewis, you've got such a big day tomorrow. And don't forget, we have an early appointment in the morning, about my new contract.
Well, Jack, I don't think that meeting will be necessary.
What? Well, Mr. Lewis, how can you do that to me? I mean, I've been with you so many years. I mean, you can't turn me out to pasture now. I'll admit that some of my jokes weren't funny, but I can always make them better, And I sing, too. When the red robin comes bopping along. Look, Mr. Lewis, you've got to think this over. Mr. Lewis, talk to him, will you please? Talk to him.
Jack, I don't know why you're so excited. This meeting tomorrow morning would be a mere formality. We've already signed your contract, and we'll mail it to you.
Mr. Lewis, will you... What? You mean that I've been renewed?
Of course.
Well, I mean, why didn't you tell me sooner?
Well, I told you earlier last year, and I got stuck with a check.
He certainly has a wonderful sense of humor.
I sing, too.
Well, Mr. Lewis, I must admit that I was plenty worried when I looked out in the audience and saw you left the studio in the middle of my show.
Well, Jack, you see...
I thought when you weren't there anymore, I thought my whole career was ended.
Well, Jack, the only reason I walked out in the middle of your show was I wanted to catch Orville Gifford before he left the studio. I thought he was great. So I signed him for your summer replacement.
You signed Orville Gifford for my summer replacement?
There he is, right over there.
Hi, Rube.
Well, I'll be darned. Oh, waiter.
Yes, sir.
Give our check to Mr. Gifford. He's working now. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And now, I'd like to bring out once again, for a bow, my guest star, Danny Thomas. Danny, it was just wonderful having you on the show. And I want to tell you, you are not only a fine artist and really a great comedian, but you are a great guy. Well, I understand that the check that I'm giving you for this show that you are donating to charity.
Well, yes, Jack, I was going to donate it to charity, but then I changed my mind.
Why?
Well, after I found out how much you're paying me, I was ashamed.
Well, of course, if you're sensitive about it, well, then that's up to you, Well,
pleasure.
So long. Well, good night, folks.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I am joined by Hope Sears. Hey, Hope.
Hello.
Hey. And I am also joined by Kathy Fuller-Seeley. And this is unique. We've never done this before. I'm going to, after we're done with this, we'll go right into the episode about our discussion of the show. that we already did. But it's just, I realized after we did this that this is Mary's very last appearance on the Jack Benny Show. And so I wanted us to chat about it. Now, someone might get technical and go, oh, well, it shows here in Laura's book that she appeared in 1963 in an episode. And it's like, I'm not even sure if she's in the episode, though. Laura does credit her. He does give her credit. So she must be in there, but it's simply a phone call in. So I don't even know if she was shown or if we just heard her voice or what, but it was virtually just a very end phone call in piece. She's also, so that's her last real appearance on the show, but we don't even have, that's not even circulation. So we can even get to that. But this is the last one of her ongoing appearances on the show. And it's from 1959, I believe. And then she would appear one more time with Jack in character. And that was is she even in character? Sort of in character, because I mean, the character's name is Mary Livingstone. Her name's Mary Livingstone, kind of tricky. But anyway, she appears with Jack on his 20th anniversary episode. And where they have a phone call back and forth. I wish they would have had them in the same scene instead of had it the illusion of the phone call piece. Yeah. But anyway, so this one, we won't get into the episode. We're just going to talk about Mary. But Mary, to me, for a long time, and this just came to me recently, I was thinking about Mary. For a long time, I thought, oh, I wish she would have done more episodes, and I wish she would have been on the show more and things. But I think it's kind of good the way it went, because every time we see Mary, we as a group, and you've seen it, we get excited because Mary's in the episode. And if she was on every episode, we wouldn't get all excited because Mary's on the episode. So it's kind of cool that she's in, one out of every 5 episodes or whatever it comes down to be over the course of the show up until 1959. And her work that she does with Jack on the television shows is wonderful. And her work that she does on the radio shows is equally wonderful or even more wonderful. She does at times, and we've talked about it, and I don't blame Mary. I don't know how much of it is Mary and how much of it is the writers and everything, but she does at times become like too acerbic for a while, and where it's almost to the point of being contentious, and I don't love that when they bring too much of that out. But that's got to be the writers, because she's only can bring to you what's on the page. So, but I like it when she can be snarky, but that sweet, lovable snarky piece. And I just think that's the key Mary. And I think they had that early on, and then they lost it for a while in the mid 40s, pushed it too far maybe. And then they got kind of back to that towards the end of the radio era, where I think, certainly I think the episode that always stands out to me that I just love is Jack and Mary's discussion and walk through the Easter parade walk, and singing and talk, and I love it. And I love her singing is wonderful too. I'm glad she does it in at least one of the television shows as well. But let's kind of go around the horn and talk about Mary and what we think she adds to the show and so forth. Let's go to Hope first. Hope, what strikes you with Mary? And I don't know if you're a big Mary fan or not a big Mary fan. Who knows? But go ahead.
I feel like Mary is underappreciated for her behind the scenes work. I think she definitely kind of served as a kind of personal manager to Jack that helped him make great decisions and guiding him, and also probably protecting him from, like, I don't think anybody came to Jack if they didn't go through Mary, in my kind of view of how it goes, because he's a huge star, so I think a lot of times she kind of was protecting his interests a lot of times. But as for her appearances, I love her in the radio shows, but I kind of cool on her in the appearances that she does on television, because I feel like at that point, like, for in the radio show it works that she's not married to Jack, but in the TV episodes it becomes more of a Burns and Allen situation where George Burns, always said, like, people weren't buying it anymore. They knew I was married to Gracie. I feel like it's that situation when it comes to television, because you can't, like, picture her as like a, you know snotty teen, like, kind of teen, like,
Right.
angst, like, kind of sassy. Like, you can't picture her that way anymore because she's on your screen. She's not a sassy teenager. She's not a sassy, like, 20-year-old. She's older, she's more mature. And I feel like it would have worked so much better if they had kind of made, and they do try to kind of be like, yeah, she's married to Jack, but, like, it doesn't really work sometimes when she's talking about, like, the May Company and stuff anymore on TV. And
I do
so
think they kind of,
they
like you
tried.
say, they don't say that they're married, but they don't also, they toned her way down, her chasing after men and things that they always played up on the radio. I can't think of a television episode where she's hot for the guest star or something.
And Hogan,
So that piece, because like you say, visually it wouldn't work anyway, but the piece that they do keep is that she's still not really his wife, and they don't,
Yeah.
so that
And it
piece.
doesn't gel because everybody knows that they're married. The tabloids, everybody's talked about, like, it's known. It's even in their episodes. They've have, like, how Jack met Mary, and they talk after about, like, yes, they're really married. And and it's just kind of interesting that they go with that choice stylistically. I feel like there needed to be a transition into, like, because they can't make her flirt with someone else on the TV show.
But I would say it worked in the long run for Jack. Had they
Yeah.
known the trajectory she would take, I think they would have went the exact same way they did, because it
Probably.
actually worked out pretty well in that she wasn't on the show a whole lot. So if they would have completely changed who he was by having him married, they couldn't play with his whole
Right.
Right. He
his
couldn't have the ditzy dates. So,
all that sort of thing wouldn't work anymore. So
Right.
they got lucky that they kept her
did.
where she was
Yeah.
for those few seasons she was on the television show, and then when she was off for the rest of the next 5 years she was off, they could play him like he's still single, because they did that forever. And
right.
even in
And,
the special,
and the marriage comes out in the relationship between Jack and Rochester. They're the sitcom couple in the house together. And, that had started back in radio days. But, in a way, giving Jack that kind of home life, they've switched it to.
It's interesting, though, that they, like, kind of have a lazy writing with Mary. I mean, it's lucky, like you say. It wouldn't have worked out to have Jack. So either it's lazy writing or Jack was brilliant and knew eventually that.
we'll go with Jack was brilliant, but
always because they killed her off. They did that in the Danny Thomas show. They could have just written Mary out. I'm always impressed by the sort of sentimentality of Jack Benny, that he wanted to keep the idea of Mary around, that he wants to call her, that he wants to acknowledge that she's still out there, even though she doesn't want to participate. So in a way, he's servicing or paying, giving back to the fans who've been with him forever, to continue this idea that there's a Mary out there somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's so funny because I was just watching the episode with Barbara Stanwyck on it, the Gaslight episode. And one thing that they play up in that episode is that everybody that's on the show also does things behind the scenes to keep the show's production. That's how they keep it inexpensive. So they have like Bob Crosby's on there, but he's also carrying a saw a lot of the time, and he's like supposed to be building the set and things. And when a light like goes down off of him, that's a spotlight, he goes, Mary, keep the light up higher so it shows me better or whatever. So she's supposedly there working the lights. And I just thought that was so funny. And they should have played that up more in futures when she was gone, that she was supposedly there in the background doing things. Would have been kind of a funny fun thing to do. But
it would have been funny to imagine the real Mary.
I know that's the thing.
Doing the lights.
You imagine Mary being there working a camera, working lights. Like, no,
but she comes more around Mrs. Calabash, someone who like Jimmy Durante.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. They should have kind of done that with Mary, and that would have been a fun thing to do, But Kathy, you have a deeper knowledge of the beginnings of Mary than just about anybody, because you're bringing us these wonderful books that you bring us that have the original first scripts, where the shows don't exist anymore, the audio for them. So the only way we can experience them is through reading the scripts. And I want to just take this opportunity again to say, honestly, if you're a big Jack Benny fan, if you read the scripts, they come to life in your head. It's like watching an episode of the show. Yep. And later, you won't even remember that you didn't hear it, because it'll be like I remember that episode. And it's like, oh, wait, I read that episode. I didn't, because in your head, you're just so used to hearing Jack's voice that it comes through the script.
I bet we're about getting to the point where we could train AI on Jack's voice.
I think we could.
Oh, no,
I think we actually could.
To that point. So.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe your scripts will be brought to life eventually. We'll see.
But you're right. It has been, at first, when I was first starting researching the Jack Benny book, this is now close to 15 years ago, I had the same opinion of someone who had only heard her in the later radio episodes. I hadn't watched the TV show, but I thought, very arch, very, okay on the side, but kind of distanced. And her job was to really, poke at Jack. And it's been fascinating to do this research in newspapers, in the scripts, in the fan magazines, to try and piece together the Jack and Mary's history, from her joining his vaudeville act soon after they got married, to I think a highlight for me of this volume 4 that's coming out is that I found a couple newspaper articles from late 1932, early 1933. So he's only been on the air with Canada Dry for 6 months. And Mary only joins at week 26. So, he's gotten through two portions. And she just, at the beginning of it's a late July, like July 27th script, she shows up.
Right.
And she's this little girl, an 18-year-old Mary Livingstone from Plainfield, New Jersey. She's a fan of the show, and she giggles. She has that laugh, and that was due to Harry Kahn writing this character. But I believe he based it on, because it's fairly similar to what I can understand was the stage character that Jack had as a sort of dippy assistant when he was doing vaudeville. But the newspaper articles I found recently from back in the day, a few actually acknowledged that she wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. Almost every other newspaper interview, and every other interview they ever gave, the standard line is that there was an empty spot and they needed someone at the very last minute to take the role. And she sort of gets coaxed into taking the role.
Reluctantly takes it.
And that's the story always. She was very reluctant. She took it. But then they got great fan mail response and great response to it. And so she stays on. That could never have really worked. If you think about it, if she was that reluctant, it's a one-time gag. But I think the actual story, and it's so interesting. Some people have big egos and they go, I always wanted to be a star. And the fact that Sadie Marks Benny becomes, is I think she actually wanted to do this.
Yeah.
She wanted to, she wanted to do this. She saw what Gracie Allen and George Burns were doing. She saw many other female comedians and performers. But at the very same time, I found another article from the exact same time that says she's got crippling microphone fight. That she admits that there was no way she could stand in front of a microphone all by herself, that the only salvation is like having Jack next to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives me such added, I want to say, sympathy for her, to say, oh my goodness, she wanted to do this so much, but from the very beginning, she was also crippled by it. Terrified her, and she wanted to do it.
She wouldn't have done this by herself. I don't feel like she wasn't. I think Gracie would have and did perform on her own, right?
Gracie and her sisters had been performing dancers since they were little tots. So yeah.
But I think Mary, I think she honestly comes at it where she had a position where she could do this. She could actually make this happen for herself. And I think she had the ambition to want to do that. But intrinsically inside of herself, I think she also was very uncomfortable with it. So it's like this dichotomy that she has throughout her whole career of wanting to do more and then pulling back and going, no, wait, I don't, that's too far or whatever.
And then
it's like Behind You is her film, This Way Please. The only film that she was in without Jack.
And she was given a contract.
Yep.
It's the only, because she's not in Buck Benny Rides Again. Again, we only hear her voice.
Yes.
Hollywood was after her. I mean, she could have had anything she wanted. And I'm glad, because I think Jack really supported her, and he knew what she and her character added to his show. It's not like a Portland Hoffa. Fred Allen sort of, dragged Portland, who had been a showgirl, and Fred Allen would say the only reason he could keep going was to have Portland by his side. When Fred Allen's sponsors would say, the 13-year-old Portland character doesn't add anything, we want her out. And Fred would say, then I'm out. I must have her. And so there's something that, in a way, Jack really, so he both really wanted to have her on the show, as well as she really wanted to do it. But I feel a tremendous sympathy now for her, for the pain and anxiety that she had to go through. Pretty soon after this, she'll start fainting, at the end of episodes. And so,
and I think Jack wanted her kind of in the same way that Fred Allen wanted his wife on his shows, in that I think it creates a comfort and a support that he wants and desires. He can't always have that because she keeps pulling back. I think he would have preferred having her involved in everything, but that wasn't to be. I think there's that. And then there's also Jack, the writer / performer, that is like, she is a unique position in our show that no one else can take that role. When she's gone, it's noticed, and our show is not quite as good as when she's in it. You can have just about anybody else on the show be gone for an episode and fill in around them and have someone else maybe take their lines or whatever, and they'd certainly done that. But with her, it's difficult, and I think he knew that she had a unique position in the show.
She really becomes the yin to his yang.
Yes.
And it's really interesting in this, it said in volume 4 that's now in production, will hopefully be out by the summer. It won't be too long. Yeah. You can really see the moment her character starts to blossom. When they switch to the Chevrolet company as their sponsors, they've lost any other woman on the show. There's no longer going to be a female singer. And her, as I said, between Jack and Harry Conn, they really blossom her character. They discover that she's got a great talent for mimicry. And this is when she takes on the Mae West imitation. Mae West was then a very popular and controversial movie star. Was she done him wrong? Although these movies set in the 1890s, Mae West's unabashed sexuality, and Come Up and See Me Sometime, her voice and her manneristic. Mary really becomes a big name in radio, very popular in these early days of radio comedy, for she's got a spot on Mae West. And Harry Conn and Jack lean into that. And so she's not only, they're doing a parody of She Done Him Wrong, but then Mary will pop in with that voice while she's been doing other things in her little Mary voice. She, when they're doing skits or other kinds of things.
Yes.
And as I said, from reading in the newspapers and fan magazines, she becomes a national phenomenon. Hooray! And then she actually starts singing. At least for 4 months on the Chevrolet show, she sings one number every episode, and she's not a trained singer, but she's quite good at it.
Yeah.
And so, here we really see her.
Now you make me really wish we had those episodes so we can listen to them. Yeah, I love it when she sings.
So it's really great, and you start to see the newspaper coverage of them being Jack and Mary. It's not just Jack anymore.
Right.
It's now really like Burns and Allen. It's Jack and Mary and Jack and Mary. And so seeing her character take on more roles and more importance and really help glue the show together is great fun.
Well, I think we should try and make some news here, maybe. So we'll see what we can do. Your first book was Blueberry, obviously.
Yes.
And your second book was Lime. Yes.
Yes,
and
Lime.
your third book is Lemon. What flavor of the Jell-O selection is your next book going to be? Can you let us know?
Citrusy, bright, rich in flavor. It's going to be orange.
Orange. Oh, look at that. We break some
Orange
news
is the
here.
color, man. Orange is the color.
That's awesome. Awesome. Orange Jell-O is very good. So I like that. So
Orangelo, yes.
yes. That's exciting. Thank you. Look at that. We broke some news. And then the other thing I would like to say that we shall see if I remember to do this or not. You may be getting a bonus here. I thought it might be fun. We already presented and did the intro to it and things a few years ago, but I think on this episode, I'd like to tag on the movie This Way Please to the end of it, because I think it'd be neat to get her first and last movie that she does by herself, right? And then also get her last appearance on the Jack Benny television show together back to back. So that'll be fun to have those two like a double feature. So stay tuned. After we're done talking, instead of going into our normal trailer for the next week's episode, we'll go into This Way Please. And then probably at the end of that will be a trailer for the next episode. So if you stick around for another 2 hours or whatever, you'll see the whole thing. So we shall
2 hours of Jack Benny World. Woo.
Yes.
Woo, woo.
Very marvelous marriedom. Yes, we are bringing you that. So fun stuff. Anything else we want to say about Mary before we go? Hope, do you have anything else to follow up with, or are you good?
I think I'm good. I mean,
Okay.
regardless of what,
Well, that's it. I would advise. I mean, it's real easy to rag on Mary. That's because you got to separate what happened in. I mean, private life, gossip, this or that. If we focus on what she and her character contributed to the show over a period of about 25 years, it's not always the same thing, but it has incredible value, and we really need to credit that, and as you say, love and appreciate her for the best her character and her performance brought to the show.
I think so too. I think people get sidetracked by trying to equate Mary Livingstone the person to Mary Livingstone the character, and they're two different things. And as long as you keep them separated, you're good. And the fact that Jack would not have featured somebody as prominently as he did Mary unless he thought she added to his show. And she really, really does. And I think we're lucky to have her as many appearances as we have. I think the fact that her character, she was able to morph with the writing of the show and go from the ditzy character to
Right?
a more sharp character and present them both well and do a good job of both. There's not a lot of folks who can change their comedy format and their comedy styling like that, and she could and did, and we're blessed with that. And just to throw out a quick thing out there, I will say I love her poems and I love her songs, her singing, and just everything. She and her letters from her mom are always funny.
All of those are just about to start in the Benny chronology.
Yes.
Oh,
So, hooray! I have so much to look forward to with volume 5 and 6 and 7 and 8.
Oh, nice.
I've been considering writing my own poems in the style of Mary and reading it at stand-ups. So if I do that, I'll let you know how that
We
goes.
would love that. And feel free when you're on here, if you ever write any of those poems, to bring them to us and do them. That would be lovely. All right. Well, we'll let you folks go with that. We'll probably segue right into us talking about the actual episode that we presented, which is fine. And I just couldn't let Mary have a final episode without us having a little chat about her, because she will be missed. From my point of view, I love every few episodes having Mary pop up and have us be able to talk about her a little bit as we move on. And we're not going to have that anymore. Now it's just Jack and Rochester and Dawn and Dennis, and that's okay. And we'll have a lot of fun talking about them too. But just wanted to give Mary her due. There you go. Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. For you listeners out there, I know it hasn't been a while because I've spaced things out, and so you've gotten shows constantly from us. But for us, it's been about 3 weeks or so since we've been together. Kathy's down there in Texas, and so all the craziness that's gone on down there, she had lost her internet for a while and things, but she's back, and that's fantastic. We were all busy. Last time we got together, we were all kind of busy with doing the International Jack Benny Fan Club convention thing that was virtual, and it was wonderful. And it's going to be available online if you haven't got a chance to look at that. But they're still putting it together, sort of, and getting it tidied up and things, I think. Anyway, so I've got Terry Phillips with me from Imaginary Theater, and he's got a brand new episode that just came out recently. What's that new episode?
It's called My Brother's Keeper. It's about a small town chief of police who's faced with the arrest of her brother and has to choose between family loyalty and professional duty.
Yeah. And the one before that is a Western. And I love Westerns, and he does such a nice job with it. It's just such a cool show, the way you do this and that and the next thing. They're all different, and they're all fun, and they're all interesting. They're all well written. I love them. So make sure you check out Imaginary Theater. And now that you're on the 5th, 6th, I don't know what.
This was episode number 6 that we just released.
Wow. Awesome. And of course, Kathy has been busy with everything Jack Benny, and she has a few books out that you can get for sure. And so check out her books, and we'll go right into it. So last time, John and I had spent some time with Danny Thomas on the Orson Welles show from 1946. He talked a lot about Danny Thomas and just it was a funny episode because what essentially Orson was doing was he was trashing this sponsor person who wasn't his sponsor, but who took him and had his kind of endorsement of the product without his permission. And so he was upset about that. And he was like, Orson Welles is not for sale and that sort of thing. But you could tell on the other side of it, Danny Thomas was their spokesperson. And so he was not wanting to offend Danny Thomas. So he's bends over backwards to say how wonderful Danny Thomas is, what a great future he has. I mean, he spends most of his show all about Danny Thomas and about the wonderful job he does doing stand-up comedy and so forth. And then we started talking, and then we started talking, and I shared, but things change over time because he's known for his wine commercials in the 70s, and we will sell no wine before his time. And so we got all into talking about that. And how, you can't predict what you're going to do in the future but at that point in time, boy, he wasn't for sale, except for Lear radios, I guess. Anyway, so we had that, and then we decided, well, let's go into Danny Thomas. And so we had a Danny Thomas show where Jack Benny was the guest, and it was a really good episode. And if you get a chance to watch that, very, very well done. But I thought we'd stick with Danny Thomas. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you give us a 2-sentence recap of what they had Jack do on Danny?
Oh yeah, it was brilliant. It was not just a small bit. He was in probably 2/3 of the episode, and essentially, it's very easy to explain and very humorous, and you could see how this would be humorous. So Danny Thomas, every year, his son has the equivalent of the Boy Scouts that he's in, and he would go and perform at their jamboree thing as the stand-up comedy person or whatever for the previous 3 years, the MC sort of thing. Well, of course, they're like, well, we can't keep on asking Danny to do this. That's kind of rude. So does anybody know anybody else? And somebody knew Jack Benny. And so then they decided to get Jack Benny. And so Jack and Danny get together, and Danny's like, oh, Jack, I am so embarrassed that they grab someone of your caliber to do this. I have no problem doing it again. And so the underlying subtext is they both want to do the show, but they both won't admit that they want to do the show. They're both like, well, I'll do it if I have to, and all that sort of thing. And do you want me to give you spoilers and everything?
Oh, no, don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. Anyway, the Jack ends up doing it, and there was a reason for Jack doing it. And there's a very touching, really touching scene at the end between Danny Thomas and Jack where he explains why he did this and things, and how it was essentially a celebration for Danny. And it was just a lovely episode. And you can see Jack Benny in shorts, and he talks about how he doesn't usually wear shorts because of his knees, but he says he thinks his knees are sexy enough or whatever that he can go ahead and pull it off. I don't think he says sexy. I think he says something else, but that's essentially what he's getting at. Just a funny show. Anyway, so then that takes us into today's show, and we'll go ahead. We were going to do a different one, but since I'm talking about Jack and Danny Thomas, let's go ahead and do that one. So Danny Thomas appeared a couple times on Jack's show. This is one of the times. And this is probably the biggest time. The other time he was like on with someone else, and they were both kind of sharing the spotlight. He was on with Johnny Ray, the singer. There were the two guests. Anyway, in this episode, Jack is essentially going to a nightclub and trying to find a nightclub that doesn't have any comedy in it because he's afraid he's losing his sponsor, and goes to a nightclub that's supposed to have who's supposed to be playing? Do you remember?
Somebody's
Milton Berle.
Yeah, well, it was Milton, but then he changed the club. He didn't want to go to Milton Berle because he was afraid Milton Berle would show him.
Oh, you mean the club where they went? It was a puppeteer.
A puppeteer, that's right. It was a puppeteer because he's going, okay, they're not going to grab a puppeteer to be a sponsor, so I'm good. But then, of course, Danny Thomas is there instead of the puppeteer and does his bit, and we'll talk about the show. The thing I enjoyed about this episode that I was surprised about, I didn't realize he was in this, was Sam Hearn was in the beginning section of the episode and pops up again towards the end. And he's doing essentially his Rube character that he did it throughout the 50s and late 40s. But before that, he had been Schlepperman on the Jack Benny show from I was going to look it up in the book. It's either 33 or 34 that he started being Schlepperman. 33? Look at that. And I always loved him as Schlepperman. And then after he stopped being Schlepperman, then they got Mr. Kitzel to kind of take over. Artie Arbach to sort of similar part. And so then they really couldn't, when Sam Hearn wanted to come back on the show and was free to come back on the show, Jack was like, well, we can't really use Schlepperman because we have Kitzel that kind of covers the same ground. And so he asked him if he had another bid or whatever. And so then they decided to do the Rube character, and that lasted for quite a while. So anyway, let's go to Terry. Terry, what did you think of the episode?
Well, let's start with Sam Hearn. I did not know that he was such a fine violinist. He
Yeah.
was a very adept violinist, probably better than Jack Benny.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
and
really,
to be able to get the violin to do all those things you want it to do.
yeah. He was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of, he was to the violin what Victor Borge was to the piano.
Yeah. Yes.
It was talented and funny.
Yeah.
And of course, the actress who played his wife, I don't think this is giving away too much, is Joy Lansing, who was this stunning, big blonde actress model. I also recognized two of the other characters, the two who played the sponsor and the sponsor's wife. The sponsor, Mr. Lewis, was the actor Raymond Bailey, who we knew best from the Beverly Hillbillies. He was Mr. Drysdale, the banker.
Yes.
Okay.
But it wasn't obvious at first. I had to wait till the credits.
Oh, wow. I didn't catch that.
And then finally, the actress who played his wife was Doris Packer, who I did recognize. And I think I remember her best from Leave It to Beaver. She was either one of the teachers or the principal. I can't remember, but a very familiar character actor from that time. The other thing I wanted to point out about this episode was that they said, Danny Thomas sang when the Red Robin comes bobbing along.
Yes.
That song was composed by a guy named Harry Woods, who was a very prolific composer in the 1920s, 30s era. He also composed When the Moon Comes Over the Mountain, which was co-written by Kate Smith, that was her signature song. And that song, to complete the circle, was played on the very first CBS television broadcast in 1931. And I think they wrote that song in 1931. And since this is a CBS, family of shows that we've been talking about, I thought it was interesting that they chose that song, which was their first on their first television broadcast.
Wow.
Interesting. That's great.
So,
Kathy,
well,
what do you
like Terry, I was really struck. I had not seen this episode before, and I was like so many of the TV ones that I had saved, and I was really struck by what a pastiche of Jack's long history. So an older viewer who had followed Jack's career would have many levels of entry of meaning to it. Now, looking in Laura Leibowitz's marvelous the television guide to Benny shows, this was recorded in June of 58, broadcast in February 59, the very last season of Lucky Strike. So that Mr. Lewis is supposed to be the American tobacco head. They would, I believe, that may end the long relationship. So there is something to be said. You didn't get renewed, Jack. But as I said, so many things. The Schlepperman business, the Sam Hearn. Sam Hearn made a living for years. He wanted to stay in New York, which is why he would never take the Schlepperman character out to California when Jack was out there. So that he wanted to stay in New York. So that's why Schlepperman didn't continue on the show. But what I've read in Variety is Schlepperman or Sam Hearn for years traded on his Benny connection. He did nightclub shows and small stage shows where he would get on the phone with Mr. Benny and be talking Schlepperman. And this violin act would have come from his own stage show. So here's sort of 25, 30 years of Sam Hearn, as well as indeed the callback to the Rube from Calabasas that I love. The fact that Danny Thomas is singing the Red Robin, was made famous by Al Jolson. Again, another push back to 30 years ago. When Jack looks out into the audience and sees the empty seats, that to me was a sudden flashback to
To Be or Not to Be.
To Be or Not to Be.
Very good. I hadn't picked up on that.
I wish that this episode still had its commercials in it, because I would have loved to see the Lucky Strike thing carried through, but in this version we don't have that. Right. And as well as Jack had been doing It's Time for My Renewal, how can I screw up and be nervous? He'd been doing that since the early 40s. And so I loved all those callbacks to things in the past, and yet the way he and his writers could still make it slightly different and new by having it be Danny Thomas. And they've got, I thought having not seen it before, they've got a really fun kind of animosity that's not the pure hatred of Fred Allen and Jack Benny, but I really liked their chemistry of sort of trying to one up each other.
Right.
So it was a pleasurable episode. So
I think so too. And I was just going to say, one of the things that plays so well in this episode, and like you said, he's done this for years, but I thought this episode really captured it so well, was how he plays on, it's a show within a show, and you kind of know what's going on. And the fact that his character is so concerned about being shown up by another comedian, and yet the part is written in a way that Jack tells a joke that doesn't work, and then of course Danny tells the same joke, adds a little pieces to it that add all the comedy to the joke and make it much better. And I was thinking, boy, how many comedians would allow and write it in such a way that another comedian shows them up. And so he's the way he's playing it versus the way he's saying what the character wants to have happen are two diametrically opposed things. Yeah. And it just shows the confidence he has in himself, that he's willing to go ahead and give the stage to another comedian. Yeah. Amazing. And that the show's written, like I say, the exact opposite of that. It's a flip-flop.
That's a great point, because Benny's got to, so there are so many ways in which the show could have been one of the sort of tired old pastiche repeats that the writers just snitched from other old scripts. But just as you say, Daryl, there is that spark that makes it new and interesting.
Yes.
Again, that Benny still had that in him, which is, wow.
Yeah, I know. And Danny Thomas is just a delight in this episode where he appears and everything. And I've really enjoyed, I haven't spent this much time with Danny Thomas as I have in the past few weeks, and just really been impressed with Danny and his what the writers would do for him, and the producers. And Sheldon Leonard, of course, produces the Danny Thomas show and would produce the Andy Griffith show. And we'll get into both of those in just a minute. So
am I right to think, I don't know that much about Danny Thomas from my own childhood viewing. Was he pretty much I'm looking on Wikipedia, the source for everything. It seemed that Danny moved much more into behind the scenes production after his own show ended in like 1964. Is that sort of true? So that's why I don't know Danny that well.
That's right. He became more of an executive producer. He would show up occasionally as a performer, but mostly he moved, as did Sheldon Leonard. He moved from being an actor to more of a producer, and I don't know if he directed much, but certainly a producer.
Do you know, Terry, did he have anything to do with his daughter's, Marlo Thomas's, That Girl?
That's a good question.
Executive producer of it or something?
I don't remember seeing his credit on that. I don't know, Daryl. It's a great question.
Because I could see one, him doing that, or two, I could see him stepping away because he doesn't want to cast a shadow over his daughter or whatever, and he wants her to be able to do her own thing.
One thing for sure that she has done is continue his legacy in supporting St.
Jude. Yeah. Well, and that's what John and I spent a decent amount of time talking last week, just how impressive it is that his entertainment legacy is important and so forth, but I've never seen anyone have such a legacy in charity work where he's created this. I mean, essentially he created that hospital. He created St. Jude, and he did all the fundraising. I mean, he and his friends and everything, but he was the linchpin, the key person to
don't let's not leave out Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. But he was huge in it, right? And then Marlo Thomas continues that work to this day.
That's right.
And Jerry Lewis was a huge piece of that. There were other actors that were huge.
No, but I'm talking about, he being the driving force behind the muscular dystrophy.
Muscular dystrophy, right. But even that, I don't know. I mean, because it seems
not
like
the same. You're right.
After Jerry kind of stopped doing that, the marathon, I mean, the way the telethons and everything seemed to kind of slowly drift away. Now, I think that was due to just the nature of entertainment industry and so forth as well. I just don't think telethons work as well as they used to or whatever. And
but you're quite right. Danny Thomas was a force to reckon with.
Yeah,
in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, we'll end it there unless anybody has anything to add to it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great episode.
No,
I think
I'm
you guys
looking
are going to
forward
do it.
to talking to the next.
Yeah, and we'll hop on the next one right away. So let me just get out of here. Bye, everybody.
Protection, spread all your sweet affection, right here in my direction. Let me guide you. It's right, please. You'll never go wrong in my arms where you belong. Boy, I know a shortcut to heaven above. So this right, please, you're in for love. Delighted to meet you. It's greatly delighted to meet you. Familiar it seems. We must have met before in a dream. And so excited to meet you, dear. Delighted and so excited to meet you, my dear.
Company, halt! At ease. There's a button off your coat. See that it's replaced. You've got on too much rouge. Wipe some of it off. What time does the newsreel go on?
11:21, 2:57.
There's a schedule in the locker room. What time does Brad Morgan go on?
11:30, 3:05, 6:40, and 10 o'clock.
Where's Maxine? Doesn't she ever get here on time?
Would you, if your uncle was the boss?
Attention! Left face. Forward. March.
Of course, it's none of my business, but this is my office, my typewriter, my time you're taking up.
My.
Now listen, Maxine.
Quiet, lady working.
This is a business office. I got to get out some publicity.
I'm helping you out, Inky. I'm putting novelty into your publicity.
As for instance.
Poetry.
Is this it?
Yes, read it.
Poetry.
That's the title.
That's a novelty already. When you come to our theater, the management will gladly cater. Why, it don't rhyme, you see? Theater, cater, it's no good. What's the matter with your skull?
Let me read it. When you come to our theater, the management will gladly cater. See?
Well, for the sake of argument, no, but read on.
For our efforts are untiring to whatever you're desiring. Day and night we are perspiring to give the most for the least money.
Have you got a pistol?
A pistol? What for?
Let it go.
Inky. Don't get sore. I only wanted to give you some new ideas so my uncle will give you a raise and then we could get married.
I'm satisfied now.
If you're afraid to speak to Uncle, I will.
Oh, no, you don't. If Mr. Crawford thinks I'm worth a boost, I'll get a boost.
Inky, I'm proud of you. So proud I'd marry you even without a raise, if you'd ask me.
Well, I'm not going to ask you. I mean, no raise, no marriage.
This way, please. Step into my heart. Here's romance, all ready to start. You're under my protection, so spread your sweet affection right here in my direction. Let me ride you this way, please. You'll never go far in my arms.
Which way is the stage door, please?
Oh, he won't see no one till after the first show, lady.
Oh, I don't want to see Mr. Morgan. I'm looking for work.
Oh, of course.
And specialties.
I'm sorry, I'd like to help you, but I'm the director of sanitation. The stage door is down the alley to your left.
All ready to start, 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 start.
Thanks, 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 thanks.
Start, 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 start.
Get them brakes fixed.
Heavenly days, McGee, are you lost again? McGee, a man winked at me.
Well, we all make mistakes.
Why, it's Brad Morgan.
Well, that's the heartbreaker that played the theater in Wistful Vista sometime back, ain't it? Had all the gals gaga. He even gave you an autograph, didn't he, Molly?
Yes, and I want to see it.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Molly. We're way behind in our schedule as it is.
I don't care. I want to see Brad Morgan.
But, Molly, we can't park here.
No, you can't park there.
Oh, I can't I? I guess you don't know who you're talking to, Bud. I'm Fibber McGee. I carry a lot of weight where I come from.
Why, Tim O'Toole, when did you leave Wistful Vista?
Molly!
Mrs. McGee to you, son. That's my wife.
You haven't changed a bit since you were a girl, Molly. If ever there was anything funny around, you got it. What are you doing in town?
Oh, we just stopped by to see the show.
But, Molly, we can't park here. Can we, officer?
No.
See?
Yes, we can. Can't we, Tim?
Yes, Molly. And what's more, I'll mind the car.
Come on, McGee.
Oh, sure.
And furthermore, I don't like the way you talk. I guess you don't want to marry me.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Hi, Bud.
So what do we owe this riot?
I want to see Brad Morgan.
He doesn't go on till noon. You can have him for lunch.
Who are you and where do you come from?
We're from Wistful Vista, Bud.
And I want to see Brad Morgan.
I think we got something here. All the way from Wistful Vista to see Brad and Morgan. Some drawing power. Romance at the old crossroads. Heartthrobs in the sticks. If that's not a newspaper story, I'm a monkey's uncle.
How's your nephew?
Say, folks, I got a great idea. Step into the show shop and relax.
What about Brad Morgan?
Oh, skip Morgan. Go in and see the show. Later, drop up to see Mr. Crawford. He's our manager. I'll be there, and I think we can sell him a bill of goods.
It's a date. Come on, McGee.
Oh, thanks, Bud. You folks ever come to Wistful Vista?
Swell. We'll go there on our honeymoon.
Uh-huh, but don't wait up for us.
Come in.
Good morning. The stage doorman told me to see you.
Yes, we need one girl. Will you take off your hat, please?
I'm afraid my hair will be a sight.
How tall are you?
5'5".
Send Maxine Barry up. What's your name, please?
Jane Morrow.
You've had experience?
Oh, yes, sir, lots of it. I just finished.
This is just temporary anyway, even if you fit our costume. First, I want to see how you'll look in it.
Yes, sir.
Are you standing in a puddle?
Put them down. This is Miss Morrow. Give her a Hawkins outfit and explain some of our general rules.
Rule number 1. If you're going to wear your dresses that high, don't ever walk by the musician's room. Come on.
Well, how do I look?
Oh, you look swell.
I'm kind of jittery.
One show and that'll all be over.
Oh, I hope the dance routines aren't too hard. I'd much rather sing than dance.
Wait a minute. We don't dance. We're usherettes.
Usherettes?
Yes.
Well, I thought I was hired as a chorus girl.
Well, you've been hired under false pretenses.
I don't know anything about ushering. But whatever it is, I need work.
It's a cinch. All you have to do is please the customers, which is no cinch.
You must meet all kinds of people.
I'll say. But all you have to worry about are the men. They may come in the theater alone, but they don't want to go home that way.
Oh, I see.
Yes, they're all either misunderstood or lonesome. And another thing, watch out for sailors on shore leave. They think they have a girl in every aisle.
I guess the tired businessman is safest.
Yeah, but be sure he's tired. Well, I guess we better go now. Oh, this feels so good.
I know, but what do I do?
I'll show you. Well, first of all, I get your flashlight. Just tell the customers to follow you down the aisle, then walk off and leave them.
Leave them?
Sure. Then if they don't find seats themselves, go back and tell them to keep moving. It's very simple.
I hope so.
Here's your flashlight. You carry this, but you never use it unless somebody trips. Then you flash it on so they can see what they stumbled over, if they're interested.
Sounds easy.
This is your post. The house opens and the picture goes on in 5 minutes. You'll find a stack of programs up on the balcony just outside the projection room. And make it snappy because Mr. Stu Randall's a very tough boy.
In my heart, there's a plea for the key to this mystery. Can it be infatuation or love? Can it be love? Is it love or infatuation? Can this be paradise inside? Is the thrill of a new temptation all that I really feel tonight? In my heart, there's a plea for the key to this mystery. Can it be infatuation or love? Can it be love? Can it be?
usherette.
Where's Miss Morrow?
She went upstairs for some programs.
We'll get another girl to show these people to their seats and then come with me.
That's all, girls. I only hope the number goes as well on the stage. You better hurry along now.
Have we time for a sandwich?
Sure, you bet.
Good. We'll be back in half an hour.
All right, fine.
Now, you're a long way from aisle 3.
I'm sorry, Mr. Randall. To tell you the truth, I got so interested listening to Mr. Morgan's song that, well, I forgot all about my job.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to know your little usherette appreciates talent when she hears it. Thanks again.
Jane, you better be getting back to your aisle.
Well, that's not necessary. We'd better have a talk in my office.
Inky, you've got to do something.
Now what? Can't a fella have a sunbath and peace and quiet?
It's about that new usherette. Stu Randall's going to fire, and the poor kid needs the job.
So what?
He knows she should have been at her post instead of being up here like a girl in a trance listening to Brad Morgan.
Girl in a trance listening to Brad Morgan?
Not bad. Are you crazy?
Just inspired, my little pigeon.
You'll make the 5th girl I've had to let go on account of Mr. Morgan. It's time somebody paid less attention to him and more attention to work.
I have no interest in him. In fact, if you give me another chance, I'll promise to forget Brad Morgan for the rest of my life.
I tell you, boss, it's terrific. Every newspaper in town will go for it. Theater aisles jammed as usherette and hypnotic trance deserts post to listen to Brad Morgan.
Look out! Well, all right. Sounds like a good idea. Get Brad and the photographer up here, and I'll get the girl.
Sold. And make it snappy. I'm not used to waiting around.
And frankly, I don't think it would be fair to make an exception in your case.
Randall, send the girl on aisle 3 up here immediately.
Yes, sir. Well, I guess that's that. Mr. Crawford wants to see you now.
Mr. Crawford?
See the spot I'm in?
Yes. You certainly are in a spot.
You know, when he looks through that gag, he sees you upside down.
Yeah? Well, no man's going to see me standing on my head.
Okay, get him set. Put your arm around her, Brad.
A pleasure. May I, in the interest of publicity?
In the interest of publicity, you may.
Is that publicity?
Uh-huh.
And you're a publicity man?
What do you think?
Inky, you stinky.
I can't help it. Look pretty now. Hold it. That's it.
Okay, Jane.
Is that in the interest of publicity, too?
That's the artist in him. Everything he does with feeling.
Oh, thanks, young lady. Randall?
Yes, sir?
Nice girl, that. We should have more around here like her. See that she gets $5 bonus for the picture.
Yes, sir?
That's all. Inky?
Uh-huh.
I think you deserve something, too.
Well, what can you think of?
Inky, you know what we were talking about this morning?
Well, that's right. I have a great institution here, Inky, and I want to show my appreciation of your efforts. Now, you've been asking for something for some time. And after talking to Maxine this morning, I decided to ensure her happiness.
I want a raise!
Die, you fool!
Unky, calm yourself.
What now?
I just wiggled off the hook.
My matches.
Almost a bride.
Some girls don't know when they're well off.
Well, here we are. Where's Brother Crawford?
Mr. Crawford's not in a very merry mood. Sit down, rest your skull. Come on, Ruination.
You mind if we take these chairs, sis?
I'd leave them right where they are if I were you.
Hospitable, ain't they?
he gave Jane a bonus for this. Seems like everybody can get more money but you. Listen. What do you have to do to attract a man's attention at the breakfast table?
You might try standing on your head or fainting. Fainting always attracts attention.
Water, quick. Gosh, that coffee's hot.
So am I, under the collar.
Pleasant good morning.
What'd you think of the story?
If I was the boss, I'd give you a raise.
I wish you'd changed places with my uncle. Then he can't play a clarinet.
You know, that little girl must be thrilled seeing her picture in the paper. It isn't every day that an usherette can
And get her picture in the paper with Brad Morgan. Listen, she's just an usherette because she has to eat. When she took this job, she thought she was being hired to sing.
A fellow artiste.
Now, what am I going to get for a follow-up with that story?
I think I'll do the following up myself.
Oh, Mr. Morgan.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Oh, this way, please.
Have you got a good seat in the last row, lady?
You can have the whole row, but I'm afraid you can't see very well from here.
Oh, I'll see everything I want to.
Oh, any seat you wish, madam.
Good show this week?
Brad Morgan goes on at 11:30, 3:05, 6:40, and 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I know that. I've never missed a show of his in my life, unfortunately. Say, do you know you're very pretty?
Thank you, sir. The customer is always right.
Any seat you wish, madam. You know, I think they ought to have your name out in lights as a special hatted feature.
You may leave your flattery and hat in the check room to the left.
You're a very efficient usherette, but not by choice, I understand. I'd like to hear you sing sometime. How about supper tonight after the show and we'll talk it over?
The last feature goes off at 11:45.
Why, I remember that picture. I wrote it and produced it and played the hero myself. Always played them gay society parts, strangling women and stuff. That was a long time ago when that was taken. Way back in 1904, in the old silent days.
Yeah, the old silent days. Let's pretend this is one of them. Come on over here, Homer. I want to show you something. You ever see this Siwash before? Take a peek at that mug. Look at this snitch of mine. I wrote him. That's old Chief Big Ears. Played him from Nome to Chile.
Gee, you're in a tight spot there, Bud. How'd you ever get away from that pistol?
I didn't. He killed me every night.
That accounts for the dead pan. Smart gal, Molly. She gets that from my side of the house. Why, when she was in the 8th grade...
I suppose so. How'd you like to browse on a boiled dinner?
Oh. Good?
It's been on the family for years.
Oh, thanks, Bud. Ought to be ripe by this time.
Hello? Oh, a lady left her purse in the 14th row, McGee.
Tell her thanks.
Thanks.
Hey, Molly, will you look at the goofy windows?
Oh, they're all jiggledy-jaggledy, aren't they?
Well, I've seen a lot of windows with panes, but them's the first ones I ever seen with cramps. Don't you get it, Molly? Panes, cramps?
Ain't funny, McGee.
Okay, I got more.
Well, that's great. Brother Crawford will be tickled to death. You're using his office as a playground. But he didn't say anything about plowing furrows in his Bulgarian mahogany.
Oh. Take that fumigator out of here.
What's the matter with it?
Smells like a hot hinge.
Okay. I know when I'm not wanted. But don't forget I'm hurt.
Where'd you get the little knick-knack?
In Peoria.
Was it hard to catch?
Well, he wasn't so hard to catch, but I had an awful time getting shoes on him.
Hi, girls. Don't mind me. Go right ahead. Fine, girls. That's fine. Oh, no. Not like that, sis. Like this. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. You catch on to it? You gotta get the right meter into it.
You must be a taxi dancer.
Oh, I guess you don't know who you're talking to, sis. I'm Fibber McGee. I used to be the chief ballet master of the old Nichevo Opera House in Moscow. That was before the war.
Probably started it.
You see, sis, as I always told my pupils, if you got balance, you got everything. If you got balance, you'll never get hurt. I'll never forget when I was dancing with the old Panucci troupe back in Peoria. I had to do a series of whirls along the edge of a castle wall. It was symbolical of the secret admiration of an old hag for a handsome young knight.
What night?
How about Thursday?
Perfect. How'll I know you?
I'll be wearing an onion in my steak sandwich. As I was saying, girls, I had to do a series of whirls along the edge of this castle wall like this. Here, give me that chair. Hand me that umbrella, girls. Thank you. As I was saying, I was gracefully pirouetting along this castle wall when all of a sudden, the old hag appears on the scene.
McGee! Heavenly days, McGee!
And if you got balance, you got everything. If you got balance, you'll never get hurt. You see?
McGee! Come back here!
Delighted to meet you, delighted to know you. Permit me to show you around my heart. You look... Oh, I didn't know you were here. You said 9:30.
Don't stop. It's good.
You wouldn't kid a girl, would you?
No, I mean it, Jane. Now, look, will you sing another chorus for me? All right, fine. Come on, Trumps. Now, let's get a little pep into it this time. Right from the beginning. Here we go.
Delighted to meet you.
Delighted to know you.
Permit me to show you around my heart.
You look familiar, it seems.
We must have met before in my dreams.
Nice weather we're having.
Do you like canoeing? And what are you doing the next 50 years?
Where do you live? Can I see more of you? And by the way, did you know I love you?
Delighted and so excited to meet you, dear.
Okay, Jane. Look, I'm going to play a slower tempo. Move over there, will you, Trumps? And you do a little rhythm routine, will you?
All right.
All right, here we go. All set?
Uh-huh.
Right.
my audition a success?
You wouldn't kid a guy, would you? You were terrific. I'm going to see Crawford, and if I pack as much weight as I think I do, he'll give you a chance.
Oh, I wish I could think of something better to say than just thanks.
It's good enough for me.
All right. Thanks.
All right. You're welcome. I think we better take the finish over again.
I think we'd better not.
Go on, let him take it again.
If he does, watch and learn.
I've played to more intelligent audiences. Jane. What's the matter, honey?
Oh, I'm embarrassed.
Don't let it throw you.
Aren't you?
Yeah.
Don't.
Watch and learn.
Hello, impresario. You're already drawn a week ahead.
I don't want any money. I came to do you a favor.
Oh, you found a new girl for the show.
Yeah.
Well, listen. If you want to do me a favor, don't bring me any more discoveries. They're still sweeping up the eggs out there your last prodigy laid.
Yeah, but this one's different. She's a clever little performer. She's got it.
They all had it, and they all flopped.
Jane won't.
Jane who?
Jane Morrow. You remember the little girl I was photographed with? She deserves a break because she can deliver.
That the only reason?
Sure.
Well, let me think it over, will you? I'm pretty busy right now.
Okay. And you see if I'm not right. You'll thank me for sending her to you.
Call Randall and tell him to let Miss Morrow go. Immediately.
Yes, sir.
What's the matter with you? It's springtime. The birds are singing. You're a very lucky girl. You've been kissed by a star. Or maybe you always act this way when you're happy.
I've been fired.
Fired? What for?
I don't know.
Come in. Well, that's a fine thing.
Jane. Here's your check. Crawford said he was dismissing you on account of Brad Morgan.
Oh, so that's it.
I told you not to get friendly with that guy.
I'm afraid it's for being unfriendly. If you remember this morning, I slapped his face.
It's too bad.
Yeah, it's too bad you lost your job. But slapping his face was great. Pardon me while I go out and fix the heel. Mr. Morgan, may I speak to you?
Surely. Pardon me. I'll be back in just a minute. Well, what's on your mind?
This. There, you got Jane fired for that. Go on up and tell Crawford on me, too.
Did you fire Jane?
Brad.
Don't stall. Answer me. Did you fire her?
Yeah.
All right. Get her back.
Don't get excited. That's no way to ask for anything.
I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. Get her back or I go too.
Listen, I'm still running this theater.
Well, how would you like to run it without me?
Look, Brad, I've put up with a lot from you, but you're getting too big for your hat. Too big for this theater. Now get out and take that dame with you.
Thanks. I will.
How about going over to the Criterion with me? I know the head usher over there.
Jane. Oh, Jane.
It's Morgan. Shall I leave?
Oh, no, I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to see him.
Oh, Jane.
Yes, sir, the show business is a lot of luck. I mean, you can have plenty of talent, but who's going to know about it? That is, if you don't get a break.
That's right. If you don't get a break, you're just another dumb piano player like me.
Or you spend your life in the projection room, like me.
Well, you direct sanitation, like me.
You know, there's more talent in the front of the house than there is on the stage. If that dumb manager only knew.
Yeah.
Change. 1, 2, and 3, and change. And, hey, wait a minute. What's
the matter with you dames, anyhow? This is a dance. I want some life in here. Put some boom into it. That's what I want. Boom! Let's go!
See, they're all crazy around here. There's that screwy dance director out there bawling the girls out because they don't give it more boom.
More what?
Boom!
Boom?
Boom, boom, boom! Boom! Boom, boom, boom! Boom, 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 boom! Boom, boom,
Yeah? Raise the volume on sound 1 point. Okay.
I have a little surprise for you.
Jim!
You see, Mr. O'Reilly, it would have been much easier to have sent me the location of the silver mine and thus affected Miss Fairchild's release.
Hello, countrymen! Here I go again with my message to you and you. What the country needs is boom boom and a lot of zazoo zazz and a large amount of poo but there's not to mention scatty yes. So wake up all of you, north, south, east, and west. One thing I must get off my chest. What the country needs is boom boom and a lot of zazoo zazz and a good 5-cent cigar and a place to park your car. Jack! Remember what Stonewall Jackson said to Paul Revere? We Americans have no tax on laughter, fun, and cheer, cheer, cheer. Hello, countrymen! Here I go again with my message to you and you. What the country needs is boom, boom, and a lot of zazoo zazz. Let's point with pride through hidey-high, and a lot of zazoo. That's great.
Hello, countrymen.
I'm appealing to every one of you in this land.
What the country needs is boom, boom.
And a lot of zazoo zazz.
And a lot of poop.
Not to mention scatty ass. The Battle of Chattanooga, what did Dewey do?
In fast, company shoulder off and do the Susie Q.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
I don't know, Mr. Crawford. Here I go again with my message to you and you.
What the country needs is boom boom and a lot of swingy jazz.
Let us point with pride to hidey-high. Hidey-hidey, 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 hidey-hidey. What the country needs is boom boom.
Somebody must have heard us.
Hurry that room, quick.
Out this way.
Come on.
What's going on up here?
Love will find a way. Third reel.
Is that noise on the film?
Yeah.
From now on, I play nothing but silent pictures.
I tell you, boss, we're stymied. There isn't a big star available. You don't find Brad Morgan hanging on every meat hook.
I didn't find Brad Morgan. I made him. Out of nothing. And I can do the same thing again.
Well, you can't make them overnight, and by the time you get them made, the people will forget where the theater is.
Oh, no, they won't. We combed the town for talent for this audition this morning. We ought to find somebody that's different. Somebody that's got the makings of a star.
Uh-huh.
That's 9 acts, we see. Who's next?
That's the works, Chief. You couldn't put on an Uncle Tom show with this pack of beagles.
I could stand here all day and watch the scenery go by. Couldn't you, Molly?
Oh, look, McGee. A hunk of a boat.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of the ride we took when we went to Niagara Falls on our honeymoon, remember?
Oh, yeah, I can see it just like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
What was the name of that boat? The Mud on the Mast?
Mad as the most, wasn't it, McGee?
No, that wasn't it. Oh, Made of the Mist, that was it.
What's that? I thought I told you to get rid of them.
I tried everything but fly spray.
I'll never forget you trying to persuade the captain to let you run the boat.
Huh?
You wanted to see if you could climb the falls with it, remember?
Why, shucks, that would have been a sensation in the newspapers if they'd have let me done it. Seagoing McGee does it again.
Who?
Seagoing McGee, I was known as in them days.
Oh, my.
Seagoing McGee, the salty skipper of the SS Sassafras, swiftly scouring the seven seas and sarcastically snarling at sassy sailors from Seattle to Singapore.
Hold it.
Do you remember that little old lady that was on board with us?
I certainly do. She was a spry one.
Remember, I tried to kid her. I says, "Hello there, Grandma. You up here at the falls on your honeymoon?"
No, sir, Skippy. The fact is, I'm working up an act while I go over Niagara Falls in a barrel, and I'm just getting the rocks located.
Well, you're kind of old and brittle for that kind of stuff, ain't you, Grandma?
Oh, no, sir. Us girls have to do a lot of odd things for publicity.
For instance, what?
Well, I went across the Grand Canyon on a tight wire.
Oh, now, that's kind of stretching things, ain't it, Grandma?
Oh, I wouldn't say so, buddy. But halfway across, the wire busted, and leave me tell you, I had to walk fast to get to the far side before she slackened.
You remember the little girl you were afraid to fall over the rail, McGee?
I'll say so. I tried to caution her. I yelled at her. I says, "Look out there, you'll fall overboard there, sis."
I bet you I wanna bet you.
Why, you're liable to tumble into a whirlpool.
What's a pearl hole?
Whirlpool. I said whirlpool, not pearl hole.
Why?
Dad read it. How should I know why? You said pearl hole. It ain't wheel pearl. A pool. It's called Paul. Oh, Dad read it. Go ahead and fall overboard and see if I care.
I bet you would care, I bet you.
Well, you're not my responsibility. I says you're not my responsibility. And what's the idea of sitting up there on that rail like that? That's dangerous.
I know it. Say, do we come back the same way?
Why, sure we do. Why?
Well,
I says sure we come back the same way. Why?
Well, will you tell the motorman to stop and pick up my little brother? He fell off way back here.
Well, her brother hadn't really fallen overboard, though.
No?
No, she pushed him.
Ah, that was a great trip, McGee.
Hold it, folks. We can use an act like that to fill in. I'm Mr. Crawford. Like to see you two in my office.
Well, that's Brother Crawford, Molly. Come on.
There goes seagoing McGee.
Well, throw him a line and get him up the office.
I'll just be a moment, Jane. I want to see if Mr. Crawford needs me for anything first, and I'll take you over to the Mansfield and introduce you to the head usher.
All right. Mr. Morgan, a new lobby display?
Knew nothing. Braddy doesn't work here anymore.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how we wonder where you are. If we don't come crushing soon, everything will go to ruin.
Well, it's silly, but it's true. If we don't find a headline attraction, what's going to happen to our business?
And what's going to happen to your raise?
I never thought about that.
Mr. Crawford, I had an idea that...
Mr. Randall, we've had too many ideas already.
I just wanted him to give Jane a chance. If he'd only hear us sing, then our troubles would be over.
That's it. You know, that little usherette, Jane Morrow.
Oh, you've been talking to Brad. It's a frame-up.
Oh, but, Uncle, you've got to give her a chance. At least you ought to hear her.
Ah.
I'll tell you what I'll do. If she doesn't make good, I'll turn in my uniform and go home to Mother.
Promise?
Yes.
Take her up on that, boss.
All right. I'm too weak to resist.
Go get her. She's in the lobby.
Okay. One lifesaver coming up?
See, I don't understand it. Last night, Brad Morgan was out in light.
And today he's out without light.
Jane, come on. They're waiting to hear you sing. If you click, you get Brad Morgan's job.
You're kidding.
Now, don't stand here and argue. They're waiting for you. You wanted a chance like this, haven't you?
Oh, you bet I have. Only I can't believe it.
You're not nervous, are you?
Wouldn't you be? Gee, my whole future depends on how I do.
So does mine. Come on, McGee.
Is
Is it love or infatuation? Can this be paradise inside? Is the thrill of a new temptation all that I really feel tonight? Will I climb to my destination?
Enki, I've got a great idea. We can make her bigger than Brad. Now listen.
Fall from a dizzy height. In my heart, there's a plea for the key to this mystery. Can it be infatuation or love? Is it love or infatuation? Can this be paradise inside? Is the thrill of a new temptation all that I really feel tonight? Will I climb the sky to my destiny? Just to fall from a dizzy height. In my heart, there's a plea for the key to this mystery. Can it be infatuation or love? Something in my heart tells me it's love.
I guess I'll have to get a new car to take you home in now that you're a star.
Not so loud you'll have me believing it.
Well, it's the truth.
Well, a lot can certainly happen in a day, can't it?
Well, you got your break, and I'm glad.
Thanks, Stu, and good night.
Good night.
Just a minute, please. A gentleman to see you. Surprised?
Flabbergasted.
Stu just dropped me off. I didn't know where you lived, but he was kind enough to show me.
You're a fool.
Yeah, but it's fun. If I weren't, you don't suppose I'd be stowing away in a rumble seat just to see you.
Well, you've seen me. Good night, and drop around again sometime.
If you leave me now, I'll haunt you. I won't give you a minute's rest until we've straightened things out. They can be straightened out, can't they?
I don't know.
Can't we sit down?
Not here. My landlord doesn't allow visitors at night.
Come on. Hey! Hey! Which way you going? Home. Can we ride in the back?
That much snow, I'd ride on the back.
Alley-oop!
You're still a fool.
And it's still fun. Once around the park. Lightly. must be getting absent-minded. You know, when I jumped out of Stu's rumble seat, there was something that I wanted to tell you.
And you've forgotten it now?
It's something a fella can't forget.
Wait till Brad Morgan reads this.
He has read it. He just telephoned.
Why didn't you tell me that before?
Why didn't you ask me?
When he comes in, tell him I can't see him.
Yes, sir.
If you can't see me, there's something the matter with your eyesight. Kind of makes a chump out of me, doesn't it?
Every girl makes a chump out of you. I told you that before. I told you she'd do it.
Jane had nothing to do with it. It was your idea.
Sure. It was my idea to have her take your job. That's why I fired her. And I suppose it was my idea to have her sing your song.
What song?
What song is Jane singing in the show?
Love or infatuation?
That's mine.
You don't blame me for capitalizing on it, do you?
No, but I guarantee you won't capitalize on it long. Hey, you're not kidding me. You framed a nice gag to make me a laughingstock, but I'm going to bounce it right back in your face. I'm going to marry Jane.
Hi, Brad. This is Whitehall, the Tribune.
Hello.
What goes on? Yeah, what kind of a publicity stunt is this?
It's no publicity stunt. It's a story. Stick with me and I'll give you the finish. Come on, I'll buy the breakfast.
Ah, come on, Sophie. Breakfast. Not me. I'm on the wagon. Oh.
I'm only telling you what he told me. Brad said he was going to marry you.
Sure, and he'd marry you just to kill this.
I wouldn't blame him if he did.
Why?
Oh, it's a dirty trick. It'll ruin him in this town.
Well, it isn't half as dirty a trick as marrying a gal for spite. Am I right?
I don't know. I can't even get married for spite.
All this isn't getting us anywhere. What are you going to do about this?
Brad promised to take care of it.
Lay off of him. And just to keep the record straight, Brad has never asked me to marry him. But if he does, your congratulations will be in order.
Jane, don't make a sap out of yourself.
Wait a minute, boss. If she loves the guy, she ought to marry him.
Huh?
That from you?
And we ought to help the love match along.
Thank you.
You're crazy.
All right, I'm crazy. I guess I'm crazy when I say we ought to have the wedding right here in this theater. Because all the world loves a lover.
Inky, you're getting romantic.
If you think you're going to cheapen my love with a theater wedding, you've got another guest coming.
Inky isn't trying to cheapen your love. He just wants to do the right thing by Brad. So do I.
Sure, we put him behind the 8-ball. But don't you see, if you marry him with a big ballyhoo and standing room only, you'll be telling Mr. and Mrs. John Public you love the guy and that you didn't break his heart.
Don't you see? You'll be putting him right back in public popularity. And that's where Brad belongs.
You're not fooling me. All you're thinking of is your box office. But it will bring Brad back. And for that reason, I'll do it. If he asks me.
How am I doing? I can see the headlines now. Married in spot where they first met.
Remember where you first met me?
Uh-uh.
You were peeking over a transom.
Come in.
Before you say a word, will you marry me?
Before you can think it over? Yes.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Before you say another word, will you name the time and the place?
Sure. Anytime you say. If it's all the same to you, Brad, I'd like to be married in the theater.
All right. That suits me.
You don't mind being married in the theater?
Why? Do you?
If I minded, I wouldn't have suggested it.
Well, then I don't mind it either. That's swell.
Brad. Not even a kiss?
Oh. I'll call you after the matinee. Did you get everything arranged? Everything. You're all invited to my wedding. In the theater. You get an invitation from Crawford.
Is that the story?
That's only chapter 1. Here's the real punch.
Wilson, when you're on the door tonight, Mr. Crawford wants you to be on your dignity. When the people hand you their invitations, keep them. Don't tear them in half and give them back the stubs.
Yes, yes, you know how to play. I know that. But get this. When you get to that wedding march, no hot licks.
I don't want you to cheat, Jane, but when you throw that bouquet, could you kind of give me a head start?
I will, and I hope it brings you good luck. Brad here yet?
I haven't seen him. He's probably shaking in his boots somewhere.
Not any more than I am.
Why don't they open the doors?
Well, Morgan hasn't arrived yet. Where is he? Why doesn't he hurry?
If it was my wedding, I wouldn't hurry either.
How long do they think we're going to wait?
The fool. Well, this is the last time he'll ever get married in my theater.
I bet he'd be sore about that.
We'll have to stall until he gets here. What else do they do at weddings besides get married?
They eat.
Well, I think, sir, that Morgan or no Morgan, we should open the doors.
You mean he isn't here yet?
Mm-mm.
You men are all alike.
Well, you stand there gabbing about the men, but what are we going to do to satisfy the customers?
I've got an idea.
Does it rhyme?
How about the show we were going to give them after the wedding? Why not put it on first? By that time, Brad will get here. We hope.
Okay, get the girls together. Open the doors.
I can't understand what's keeping him.
Well, there it is, all but the finish.
Yeah. I'd give $100 to see Crawford's face right now.
I've seen it, and it's worth $200.
Hey, we could sneak you in with us, but how could you keep out of sight?
Cinch. Just stand in the back, they'll think you're a post.
Wait, I know where no one will see me. We'll go up the fire escape.
Imagine being a peeping Tom at your own wedding.
Delighted to meet you.
This way, please.
Delighted to meet you. Delighted to meet you. Delighted to know you. Before you all know you may like us too. For us, I hope you will root. You know this really is my debut. To smoke you may run out, but not in a theater, or you will be trun out upon your ear. My song is meant just to bring you sunshine. Here's the part they call a punchline. Delighted and so excited to see you here.
I've searched the theater from top to bottom, and there's no sign of Brad, Mr. Crawford.
Well, duck out the alley, see if his car's parked. Beat it down to the drugstore, see if they've seen him. Hey, what are you doing?
I'm from the radio station. You fellas are on in 5 minutes, and this mic must be tested.
But we aren't ready.
I'm sorry, mister. This is a coast-to-coast hookup and I ain't fixing to get fired.
Well, how do you test it? What do you do?
Why, sing and talk in it.
Oh, you sing and talk in it?
Yes, sir.
Well, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Open the curtain. Well, go ahead. Open the curtain. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Do something. Anything. Yes, you. Go ahead.
Come on, fella. Come on. Do something. If you want me to do something, you'll have to hand me a guitar. Take hand of the guitar, will you? You know, folks, I'm on everybody's radio, no matter where you tune. But I don't talk, and I don't dance, and I don't even croon. I'm not the handsome leading man with muscles big and strong, but I'm the guy, the lucky guy, who gets to ring the gong. Gong, gong, gong. For I'm the sound effects man. I'm the sound effects man. I whistle and twitter and sing like a bird. And do what the calf does when lost from the herd. For I'm the sound effects man. How I worry and plan. I'm a factory whistle that shrieks out at noon. I'm a cackle that means we'll have scrambled eggs soon. I'm the howl of the wind in an ocean typhoon. For I'm the sound effects man. I'd like to give y'all an imitation of an old man sicking his 3 dogs on the hog that's out in the tater patch, and the old man's hollering at the dogs, and the dogs is barking at the hog, and the hogs are squealing all at the same time. Hey, go get him out of that tater patch. Hey, catch him. Hey, get him. Come here. That got him out of that tater patch, all right. Folks, I want to give y'all an imitation of one of them airplanes floating around up in the air, and it goes up and turns a flip, and then takes a dive back down to the ground and kind of bubbles off there. Now, folks, I want to give y'all an imitation of one of them little ducks. He's reciting this poem called Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Mary had a little lamb, and went where it go. And everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was full of gold. Oh boy, for playing, what? Whoopee, whoopee!
So when you hear an engine, you'll know I'm the steam. For I'm the sound effects man.
Mr. Crawford, look. Brad stands her up. Jane Morrow left waiting at the altar.
Listen, Mr. Mastermind. You're going to save the Occident.
It's a pleasure. How?
By marrying Maxine. What? Right here and now.
Inky, this is so sudden.
I cooked up a wedding, got hooked on my own line. It's the last time I'll have any big ideas. What are you laughing at?
From now on, you'll have little ones.
Boys, put this fellow somewhere where we can find him when we want him.
Okay.
Tow down the river.
Here. Not very nice reading.
Hard to believe.
Jane, I've been playing second fiddle to Brad all along. I was wondering if I could again, tonight.
What?
I'm asking you to marry me.
But I don't love you.
I know that. I try my best to make you happy. Is it a go?
Yes, Stu. It's a go.
Oh, projection room. Yeah, bird's eye view. Ready, Mr. Crawford?
Is Maxine ready?
Ready, Mr. Crawford?
All right, boys, we're ready.
Bring the trap.
You said there was going to be no wedding.
Hey, what is this, Morgan? A double cross?
Last mile. Take it away.
She can't marry him.
What do you care?
Plenty. She can't.
Nail him, Bill.
I thought this was the wedding couple.
Can't you make it a double wedding?
Why not? Shoot 'em in squads.
It's most unusual, but I suppose it can be done if everyone is willing.
We're willing, aren't we, Inky?
Uh-huh.
Well, which is the first couple?
Us. I'm taking no chances.
Take it easy, Toots. You want to get us fired? That extra's on the street already.
out of me.
Stop that picture! Stop that picture! Well, go on, go on. Marry them. Don't let that stop you.
An elephant stampede in Africa. Cherry blossom time. Do you, Maxine, take this?
Hold it! Stop that wedding!
Don't do it, Jane. I'm sorry. Before you say a word, will you marry me? I mean it.
Well, that's all right, Jane.
Stop! Hold it!
What's this all about?
You signed an autograph for me in Wistful Vista.
But my dear woman,
Don't you, my dear woman, me, you big Lugan. Give me back my fountain pen.
I'll take care of you as soon as he takes care of us.
Well, goodbye. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good time. But be back for Monday matinee. So long.
Oh, if you could only cook.
What's that sticking out on the side?